Yeah, we might as well. It's pretty
All right.
good stuff. Let me
Yo.
change here. Let's go to a different room.
All right. Welcome everybody to the Marketing 101 podcast. I'm your host, Riley, with your host, Lewis May.
Hi,
And
I'm Lewis May.
right now we're actually just continuing from a conversation that we were having pre-recording. And basically this is a concept, an idea that I've been thinking about. It's been pretty well documented, but I haven't really articulated it that much since I've been starting this developer journey that I've been on. So basically, there is two ideas that we're playing with. The first one is open source. The second one is an API. And I guess the three ideas. The third one's culture, right? And so I'm making the argument that an API is a tool of the open source culture, right? And so basically, I was telling Lewis that LinkedIn's documentation on their API is not that good because of their tendencies as a company and who owns them, right? And Facebook has
How they started.
because of
Just
how
how
they
they
started as
began.
well.
And how the platform evolved and started and really just started as a way to connect people and never thought wasn't built with the intent of having an API.
Right. It was
And
built as
Facebook built.
right. And actually, it was built really before good APIs were built as well. And so,
Wasn't Facebook though as well?
yeah, but Facebook has rebuilt their API now 8 times.
8 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and LinkedIn has done it how many times?
I have no idea. I think there might right now be on their first official API, like 1 point
There
something.
you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, yeah, Facebook's been doing this for a long time. They do rapid iterations. They rewrite their code base regularly, right? Most
Yep.
companies don't do that. So remember when I was talking about how companies are going to have to invest to have their back ends rewritten? Facebook
Yeah.
they have a whole team that does nothing but that. And
They're doing it right now.
once
They're
they
like a
get
race
done,
team.
once they get done, they invent newer technologies to fix problems that they had writing their current program, right? And then they rewrite their code base. And then what they do is at their developer conferences, they announce the tools that they use to write their code base in, and then they open source those tools. Right? So
They're like
Facebook's
an open source Ferrari race team.
it's insane. They're
That's
huge.
another comparison of how we've compared Facebook to a Ferrari.
Yeah.
How they're always building the next one with their technology. And I mean, frankly, that's where a lot of the technology that marketing in general is using is coming from Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook has a huge open source culture. Huge open source culture. It's
Pretty cool.
It's
Which is
all
why
open
we got
source.
drawn to it, or attracted to it when we went and visited. Is just like,
yeah,
you can see it, you can smell it.
Yeah. But so it's different, right? Because this idea of open source hasn't really taken root in any other community other than the developer community, right? And so in the business community, it's not anywhere. It's right. In the sales community, no way.
Well, I would say in the sales community a little bit, open source comes like a great sales culture has learned open source within its company.
Right. That's not open source.
No, you're right.
Right.
I mean, but it's open source just even between the people.
So this is open. So that's a peer-to-peer network thing, right? But it's not open source. So open source is from the start, it's publicly facing. And not only is it publicly facing, but you also accept outside contributions.
Okay. And it's non-discriminating.
Right. And so in terms of code, what a lot of people will do is they'll set a certain set of terms when they first write the code base, right? So basically what happens is somebody creates a project, right? And then they first write the code and then they submit it to GitHub, and that's when they open source it. So within that open source, they'll create a certain set of standards. And so they'll be like, if you want, it's called a pull request submitted. If you want this code to be added, then it has to meet these standards, right? And so that's basically how people create a community. And then depending on how popular the project is, relevant it is to people. Most people will
Sure.
not submit pull requests. Most people will not contribute at all. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Most people will just use it, right? And
Yeah.
so this is where Gary Vee comes into play when he says just give your shit out for free. The other day he was on T with Gary Vee telling a songwriter to just get on TikTok, play your song, and then tell them to go and record it and to give them the lyrics and the music for
Yeah.
free, right?
Yep.
And so this idea, this concept is completely fucking new. It's within the last 10, 15 years tops.
Yeah. That, which is why we know we're like not the early adopters. No, what's the first stage of the curve? The innovators, then the early adopters, then the early, we know we're still in the beginning stage, not the first one, but we're
not the innovators, at least for this thing. Yeah.
And so, which we don't want to ever be the innovators unless
there's been billions made before this out of this open source culture. GitHub and NPM, two of the largest registries for open source code, have both sold for billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And it's fucking crazy.
And they're worth way more now than they were when they were sold to.
Right. So GitHub, what GitHub did is they built a repository in the Arctic to store code in and on physical devices, every single code base. Are you frozen?
They can, so it's easy to last, yeah.
Back.
Right, it's there's my polar sulfur water.
We're back.
And they built it in in the Arctic so that it's easy to keep the servers cool.
Nah, so this is cold storage. It's not stored on a server.
Oh, it's like
it's written out a remote disk.
Hard stored
on a disk.
Cool. But they must have a writer at the facility that then.
Yeah, I don't know how the fuck they're doing it. A lot of people thought it was just
dude, they have a robot that writes, grabs the disk.
Yeah. A lot of people thought it was a big play, like a big PR stunt. It definitely was a huge PR thing, but it's real too. Because of and I totally fucking get it. Because everybody would say, okay, you're this big. It's essentially their gold standard.
Yeah.
And so the argument is like, hey, you're this huge fucking company, you have this huge valuation, you're probably going to go public, right? But where's your value? Like what makes you so valuable? You're just fucking code on the internet. And I've been thinking about this for a little bit. I think that a lot of these big companies are also part of a big bubble as well, which I would probably say is like the source code bubble, right? And this is pre-open source culture spreading throughout the ecosystem, right? Because it's being nurtured right now, but it's not everywhere, and it's definitely not the go-to mentality, right? It's something that has to be argued for by a couple of developers. You know what I mean? That because they use that shit all the time. But so there's two things here, right? The first thing is, if you're trying to influence something, go for the developers. If you're trying to create some type of influence, go for the developers. Because now, the way it works is, most people don't have the technical know-how to build things. And so they use things, right?
Yeah.
You don't know how your TV works, but you can buy it and you can turn it on. Right. And so it used to be the manufacturer or the person that made the components for the manufacturer led the innovations.
Yep.
Right. And so if you're thinking about hardware, cell phones, the dude that's making.
Are you talking about like a tactic for bridging the gap with your product or service?
Right.
Well, don't tell everybody that. Oh, shit, too late. Fine. Now you know the best secret on earth on how to fucking.
Well, so it's a two-step equation. So
Great. What's on the other side? Okay,
step
fine.
one is open source.
Yeah.
Step two is go after developers. And so
Oh, you
originally,
mean in our what we're going to do?
yeah.
When you're
So
marketing
this,
a product or service to society, as far as a tech solution.
but it's also if you want to change culture, and this is what Facebook is doing.
Huh. So would you say in the developer community that Facebook is a well, they still have fans and people that hate them.
Well, I would in the developer community, everybody loves Facebook.
Oh, okay. That was my question. Everybody loves Facebook in the developer community.
Yeah. Yeah, so well, first of all, the developer community is super focused on getting jobs, right?
Yeah.
This is an idea that is kind of hard to separate from any culture, any
Okay.
subculture, because it's part of the American culture, right? And the American culture, part of
Yep.
the world culture is get a job, right? So,
Yeah.
and so the idea, everything is slanted from do this if you want to get a job. If you want to get a job, do this. But it's not if you want to get a job, it's if you want to get a job at Fang. If you want to
Yeah.
get a job at Fang, do this. If you want to get a job at Fang, do that. If you want to get a job at Fang, do this. Here's how to structure your learning so you get a job at Fang. And
Yeah. So,
Fang is Facebook, Apple, Netflix, and Google.
well, let's make sure we wrap up kind
Or
of our
Facebook,
original
Amazon. I don't know.
subject of topic here.
Those are replaceable.
Remember what that was?
No.
We started this podcast about open source, so we've
Right.
come the full circle on that topic, right?
No, not really.
Keep going, then. How do we get there?
So, I want to circle back to the other idea that I have. So it's step one is go open source. Step
Yep.
two is go after the developers, right?
Yep.
But I also said that I don't remember exactly what I said, but basically my idea was that there's a series of companies, and these are portfolio companies that have huge valuations. Oh yeah, I was talking
the bubble.
Right. I was talking about the source code bubble. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And so these companies have huge valuations, and their code bases are not open. Right. And so they're apps that we know and love. We all subscribe to them.
And they're susceptible to an eventual failure because they're just not rebuilding their stuff like everybody else is.
A lot of them are rebuilding their stuff. A lot of them are adapting to the current state of the market and adding security measures to their tools.
Yes.
Right. And so these are all services that we use, know, and love. We use them every day, every single one of us. And basically, my argument is that all of these have huge fucking valuations because people are using them because they don't have the technical ability to build this specific tool themselves, right?
Yes. Okay, I gotcha.
But there are enough people in the industry that have become so jaded that they're willing to take the fucking time to learn how to build these tools.
Or people like us who are going to realize a little weak spot and find something that we can totally just blue ocean right away from them.
Yeah, but it's not about doing that. What I'm saying is these tools they're actually, the code bases for most of them are already okay. Let me break this down a little bit simpler. A lot of these tools rely on open source code bases, right?
Okay.
A lot of these tools rely on open source packages, so-called packages, right?
Yep.
And essentially these packages have a layer that's written on top of them that makes that package a little bit more useful and also adds an interface to it for most of these tools, right?
Okay.
But the interfaces, the ability to create an interface and pull data into the interface, that's being commoditized, right? Most people don't have the ability to do that, but it's being commoditized. So eventually that's going to come to them, right?
Yep.
So eventually there's going to be like an open source back-end tool, open source full-end tool that does everything you need it to do. And maybe you pay to have this hosted somewhere. Maybe you host this on your own shit. You know what I mean? it doesn't really matter because now the way code bases are written, they're so efficient that they could run on your cell phone.
And what are you suggesting that like
So
people
what I'm
don't
suggesting is that
or
the
anything?
valuation of a lot of these companies that are
Yep.
being that are all charging their clients monthly for services to a code base that's private it's eventually going to blow up
I
because
mean, which is essentially what one of the things we're working on is being able to offer just custom back-end software instead of buying subscriptions to these crappy services that really only do about half of what you want.
yeah, but here's the thing, and this is, you know, you could say it's a prophecy, you could say whatever the fuck you want.
No, I love it because we got to get it down on,
I mean, basically, this concept, this model is going to blow up the industry. I don't know how soon it's going to do it, but it's going to blow up the industry. And when I mean blow up the industry, I mean it's going to literally blow up the fucking industry, and not when people are saying, "Oh, it's blowing up." No, it's literally going to blow up the industry. And I don't know like how big of a because what I'm seeing is these tools in the wake of this current crash
Yep.
have gone up in valuation.
Yeah.
And the reason is because these tools are all internet-based tools. And so
Yeah.
because nobody can use the physical tools, they're using the internet-based ones.
Mm-hmm.
Because the web is the best platform in the world.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so these people
hopping on a train to go and visit somebody.
Right. So these people put their tools on this platform, and that's why they're so valuable.
Yeah.
It's not because their tools are valuable.
Eventually there's going to be a new development of how people get done what they need done on the internet.
And well, that development is already being done in the background. It's been being done for a while. Yeah. And so
it has to do with apps that self-connect to each other and just people owning their own information and owning their own tools instead of using other people's tools.
Well, the trend for most businesses now, it's moving, and it's only started recently, is for businesses to own their own data. And this is why we've been introducing third-party analytics tools into our services instead of using Google and Facebook native tools.
Yeah. Essentially, what we're going to help companies doing, and we're really, really close, is own their own data, but own better data than what they're owning right now.
Well, so it's not only that. Basically, we're trying to give you data that you've already bought and paid for, but we're trying to take that data, make it usable. So take that data, first of all, collect it in a specific way. Collect it so it's structured, right? So we got to know the data to look for, and then we got to be able to collect the data. So we got to know how to collect the data. Then we got to know how to structure that data, right? Yep. Once we have that data structured, we got to know how to work with that data, right? So we want to
essentially what we're really getting down to, like when we say data, and when you say granular, which I've now adopted, and because I know what it means, we're saying like literally we want to save data that helps us know why Bob should buy our product, so that we can call Bob up and go, hey Bob, we were doing our data research to figure out who our next customers are going to be, and we realized that you could really benefit from our product because of this, and this. And then that lets Bob go, wow, you're right, I do need your stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's a good lead.
Yeah.
And when every business kind of wants that to happen.
So HubSpot invented a lead scoring algorithm that does this.
Yeah, killer.
And then depending on the weight of this lead,
so essentially
this affects the presentation in the CRM.
We do is what we do is advertise for HubSpot, so that you go there and you either do business with HubSpot or you realize that you can't do business with HubSpot because they're too expensive and you're not there yet, and then you should come back and do business with us.
Well, it's not just that. It's you can't do business with HubSpot because their barrier to entry is a certain thing, and then once you qualify for the barrier to entry, you realize that it's not a done-for-you service, and all you have is a suite of tools.
Oh, they have the same trap as everybody else then.
Yeah.
So see,
But
that's what I realized.
they
Let
do
me get
sell
this
their
out there.
services at an hourly fee.
We need to this is identification as to what people really want. What people like about our business model, Riley, is that we have the personal touch.
Yeah, that's what people like about every business model, but it's not
Yeah.
scalable.
So we have to figure out how
Like
to
that's why
scale that.
people don't do it because it's not scalable. They don't
Well,
think it's
there is a
scalable.
way to scale it. You just have to be like Andy Frisella, where you have that or fifth division of your company, which is just the personal touch uh, section of your company.
Yeah, there's a reason he did that.
Yeah. I mean, so it is scalable. You just have to add that to the cost of doing business and say, I don't get to make as much money.
Yeah, I mean, well, so this is the thing is
So that's what we're going to do.
I wouldn't say that you have to say I don't get to make as much money.
No, you just say, well, what you say, I
You
mean,
could just add it to the cost of doing business quite
you get
literally.
to make, you get to make 10 times as much money then.
No. What I'm saying is, if okay, so you have like let's say your cost of goods sold is X, right? And
Yeah,
then
no, I get where you're going.
yeah, you
Your
literally just
profit, your
do
profit margin goes down a little bit on per
no.
sale.
So your cost of goods sold is X, and then your price is Y, right?
Yep.
But your cost for the personal touch is Z, right?
Yeah.
So the actual price is Y plus Z.
Yeah.
So you don't
Which
make
is,
less.
yeah, it's the same as ever. It's really just goes down there and then you put a little more up here. It's the same way.
But people, it's if it factors efficiently into the business equation
It
because
absolutely does.
people
It's
pay
just
more
not,
for the personal touch.
it's just goes, it's anti-US corporate capitalism mantra.
Well, I would argue it's not it's anti-corporate idea, but I would argue that that's not actually the true United States ideology when it comes to business.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people smarter than me, people like Peter Thiel, that argue that our business culture got infected with the ideology of corporatism, right? And so that ideology
I
of
think you're right.
corporatism and this
We did have guys
valuing
like,
valuing the shareholders
yeah,
versus stakeholders, right?
uh-huh,
Sets a certain priority on absolute growth and
okay.
return on investment, right? And so there's
Mhm.
no other priority, and that's what like that's a parasite,
Yeah.
quite
Yeah.
literally. You know what I mean?
Oh, literally. Yeah.
I picture it as a cancer. You know what I mean? And so it's growing on the American economy, like it's feeding on it. You know what I
It
mean?
just leaves a lot of opportunity for guys like us who have heard the right way to run a business.
Right, but
That
it leaves the rest of the economy underserved. You know what I
it
mean?
does.
That's the thing about cancer is it wastes the body, right? And
Yeah.
so it people
There's
like
your
us,
advertisement for Arate. Then, if you ever listen to this and you want to help solve the problem, you can join groups like Arate,
yeah,
who
Arate
actually,
is a white blood cell school. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like or macrophage, like a supercell school. Like,
totally.
yeah. So and you can get real philosophical with these ideas, but basically, man, because we don't value our foremost value is not ROI.
Yeah,
That's why we'll be like good at what we do.
yeah.
It's pretty much that simple.
So, if you want more of this, then I guess you just got to listen to more podcasts and hire our company because this is what it's like all the time.
Yeah, go to HammerSportMarketing.com and get in touch.
Yeah, I think.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Marketing 101 podcast. I'd like to invite you to send us any questions that you have about marketing, growing your brand, starting your business to info@marketing101podcast.com. Also, if you like this content, please share it, subscribe, rate this episode, specifically this episode, because I think it helps us understand what our audience expects from us, and also it tells the algorithms that people are paying attention, and it increases engagement. So thank you so much for watching. Share this with your friends, like it, subscribe it, and stay tuned for the next episode.